Can you really get a great content creation video camera for under $200? I think you can. Coming up. J.K. Brown Official bringing you tips and tactics to grow your content online. Now, one of the big questions I get asked a lot is the gear. Actually, what to use to film your video. And there's a lot of options out there. Most people, when they're starting out, they rely right on this, their cell phone. And it's great when you're getting started, or if you're trying to do something a little more guerrilla, you don't want to take something that's going to draw too much attention. It's a great piece, but just like anything that's a multitasker, it's really not professional in all aspects. And yes, you can add different accessories to this and, you know, all sorts of brackets and things. And yeah, you can add external mics, but ultimately you're still dealing with a cell phone. Its also drawbacks are the cameras. And yes, it's got some fun forward-facing cameras and rear-facing and all of that, but ultimately you're still only going to get quality to a certain caliber when you're doing this. So you are pretty limited by it. Don't get me wrong, I shoot a lot of content with my phone, but it's not there for everything. You can also are limited by the memory that's in here. A lot of people then will also look at things like an action camera, something like this GoPro. Again, great camera. This particular one happens to be a 7 black. It'll shoot 4K video and has one of the best image stabilizations on the market with the Hyper Smooth. But fixed lens, what you see is what you get out of this camera. That's it. You're not going to be able to do things like zoom or other sort of adjustments with it that you might want. Also, to be able to hook a mic to this, you have to put a bracket and an extra body. And this camera alone has been running around a $500 price point, and the mic adapter is another $50. So what else can you go with? Digital single lens reflex cameras that have interchangeable lenses. Great option, but the problem is price. Most of those you're going to start out with anything with decent lens in body, you're going to be starting out, you know, at around $500 or more. Mirrorless cameras, things like the Canon M50. Again, great camera, great resolution, but again, you're dealing with a price point issue. Also, the DSLR and the mirrorless have one major drawback for somebody particularly doing interviews and things like that. It's a cap on their memory. Most people don't realize when they're buying one of these that you're capped at 29 minutes and 59 seconds. So at 30 minutes, it's going to time out due to the buffering in the computer software that's in it, and also heating issues. In fact, that's a big problem if you're shooting big, long duration things. Because the DSLRs and mirrorless, again, do two jobs. They not only shoot video, but they shoot stills. Originally, DSLRs only did stills. That's why they're kind of a hybrid between the two. And the same thing with the mirrorless. The mirrorless are simply the guts of a DSLR, but with the mirrors removed, so you only use the viewfinder. So what else is there out there? What else? Well, a lot of people forget the camcorder. What's its primary job? Recording video. This is not a multitasker. It is designed to shoot video content. Professional film crews, you see them on their shoulders, big camera rigs running around. Those are camcorders. But also in the consumer and prosumer market, there's a lot of great options. And if you're primarily shooting video content, you should look at adding one of these to your rig, or even for your first camera past your cell phone. This particular one that we're going to talk about today, the VIXIA HF R800. This particular camera is something I ran across looking around Amazon. I needed another camera. I wanted it just for a second angle, and I knew the quality compared to my normal camera, which is a Canon 6D, could be a little bit less because of how I was going to shoot it. I also wanted something, honestly, really cheap in case it got damaged. Because, for example, the 6Ds, 5Ds, things like that, big DSLRs, they're going to start at a couple of $1,000s. And not only that, talking about the lenses. This particular camera right now is going for less than $200 on Amazon. And in fact, you can even get it bundled with some extra batteries for right at about $200. This camera has a cap on the video that's as long as the power holds out and the memory card lasts. It'll record. That's powerful for those of you content creators that are doing interviews and now I'm gonna have to worry about, oh, I'm getting to my time limit on my camera. I'm gonna have to stop it and restart. It's also easy if you're doing multi-camera because you can keep all your cameras rolling. What drew me to this as well is that it had a mic port. So many cameras actually don't come with a mic port, which I find completely crazy that, for example, the G7 series didn't have a mic port till the new one that's coming out this August. So you couldn't add an external mic. DSLRs, mirrorlesses, and other cameras need that ability to put in a different mic option depending on what you're shooting, whether it be a shotgun mic or a lavalier like I'm wearing right now. If you don't have that flexibility, your content is going to be lacking. Now, there are a lot of vloggers that'll shoot a G7 or some of these other cameras without a mic. And if you're really close to it, it can work. But if you can just take a little bit of an extra and put it on there, your content is going to be much greater. Now, this particular camera I went ahead and took out and I wanted to show you some of the content with it. So I figured what better than to run out to the park. Now, as I was carrying this around, I was simply mounting it up to a Joby grip, which is just like this. It's a flexible mount and you can put it on the bottom of the camera. In this case, I purposely did not add any exterior mic with this. It is simply the onboard. As you can tell, it wasn't that windy of a day, but as you can hear, the audio quality isn't that great.
Hey, Dad, that's the same one.
Alright guys, I did want to also show you what this is like in sort of a vlogging mode. Actually, I'm here in my office. That is, excuse the mess, I'm actually working on it right now, upgrading a few things. So, no judgment on the office. But I am here with 5000K lamps. That's what I actually have on my ceiling here. As you can see, I actually load them in all the rooms that I shoot because I like the color balance on them. It works very well. This is with the lens wide open, so this is as wide as it goes, using a Joby. And it allows me to get that nice grip. I can brace my arm against my body, and it gets this look that a lot of people want of a vlog. And it does go wide enough. The screen itself, I do notice, a lot of times will look washed out compared to when it actually gets to your post-production editing. So if you're realizing it's a little washed out when you flip the screen over, drop it in post. You'll actually probably find it has a lot more color in it. So the screen isn't super accurate. The other thing is a lot of you might want to have a blurred background when you're doing this. And this camera doesn't do a great job on that. So for example, if you notice behind me, that's about 2 feet behind me, still in focus. And then the wall, or that bookcase, is a solid, I would say, 8 feet, and it's still pretty in focus. So you're not going to get that nice silky blur that a lot of people are going to want, and you can't do manual adjustments to this. They do have some auto setting adjustments you can do. For example, with this, that you can put it in portrait mode and stuff like that. It doesn't do a great job. But again, $200 camera, and the video quality itself is great. And if you don't have any wind, this audio is, I'm going to be pretty honest, very good. So another option for you.
Up close or indoors or in a vlogging situation, it actually works quite well. You'll hear in this instance, when I was showing you the outdoor capabilities at night, you can hear the audio, which is actually pretty decent.
And this happens to be under low light conditions. In fact, this is actually out on a standard street here in Middle America. And as you can see, it does get quite grainy, unfortunately. Not good for low light.
Now the shake in this is reduced by some internal shake reduction. It does have some digital reduction as well, but it's not as good as something like, for example, as I mentioned, the GoPro Hyper Smooth. That is really second to none in the industry right now, is that it looks like you're on a gimbal when you're using it. This particular camera does take some out. You're going to have to use proper camera technique with this. For example, mount it to something extra like this Joby, or when you're filming with this, really brace it up nice and tight so you have more points of contact. Now there are a couple of drawbacks to this camera, and I will be honest with them. First is the build on it is a little light. You can tell this is a consumer camera. The plastic and feel is a little bit light on it. As I mentioned, the mics, any wind at all, and they're fairly useless. You're going to have a secondary mic on there. And where they mounted the mic port right here on the inside of the door is not really the best choice. It should have been somewhere here on the front, so even if you went ahead and put this sort of in a safety mode like it can do, you can still have a mic hooked up to it. It's a little bit of a fault when you're working with it. Also, one of the things is if you have a mic, why don't you have a cold shoe on here to mount that mic up with? You can, with a little hack though, add this mic mount. I actually will take this and mount it up just like this, and you can mount your shotgun mic on here. Personally, I like to pair this with my Takstar shotgun mic. This is about a $20 mic, and it works very well. Several other people online that agree with me on this as well. It's about one of the best values in microphones online. You can simply bring this over, plug it in, and yes, you can't use the grip here, but you now have this nice little extra ability to hold on to this and get these nice shots. In fact, I rarely use the hand grip on here. I guess it's just bad flashbacks or camera technique to fathers and mothers on the sideline of soccer games standing there doing this the whole time. I never use it because I also can't get enough points of contact. So not having access to that grip really doesn't matter too much to me. So if you're looking at getting into the industry and trying to expand your bag a little bit, I recommend the Canon HF R800. So 200 bucks, can't go wrong in this. Now, if this content was helpful to you, make sure you hit that subscribe, turn on the notifications, and do me a favor, share it over on Facebook or Instagram. We'd love to build up our channel. So with that being said, J.K. Brown, I'm out. It's rolling. Hold it tight. Here,
Go,
like this.
go, 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 go.
Here, hold it like that.
Wow.